Hi guys, today I'm coming at you with a requested video. I was requested quite some time ago to do a favorite brush tutorial, or not tutorial, my favorite brushes. My all-time favorite brushes of all the brushes that I use. I don't have a ton of brushes, I don't think. Here, let me show you. I have these. I have more. These are all like eye brushes, smaller brushes. I have more, but I took out all the ones that I wanted to show you guys. So those are all my smaller brushes. And then for larger brushes, I have these, and I have these brushes, the artist dupe brushes. So that just gives you an idea of the amount of brushes that I have in my collection. I really don't have a huge amount. I just have a good amount, I'd say. So I'm going to start off by, going in order from face brushes all the way to eye brushes. And I'll also be demonstrating how I did this makeup look using all the brushes, so you'll be able to see how I actually use the brushes instead of just me showing you the brushes and just being like, this is what I use and this is what I use for this and this is what I use for that. I'm actually going to be showing you guys. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so first off, I have this Morphe E58 brush. I really don't know exactly what this brush is supposed to be used for. It's an angled brush and it's quite, it is dense, but it's also very fluffy. I use this brush for foundation application, and it makes my application very light and almost airbrushed because of how fluffy and movable the brushes or the bristles are. So I used this one on my left side, as you can see. Another favorite foundation brush of mine is the this is also a Morphe brush, but this one is from the Morphe Set 690, I think. It's a set of contour brushes, and I like every single one of the brushes in that collection, to be honest, but I just picked out one of them just to show you. It's a flat top, kind of rounded kabuki, I think, and I use this on my right side, and this does a thicker application. Next, for under eye highlight, I use the Morphe E8. I really like this brush. It is also very fluffy yet dense at the same time. I use this for under my eyes, and it really makes it look natural and fluffed out, which I really love about this brush. I can also use this for contour, getting right into the hollows if I'm doing a cream contour, but I prefer to use this for my under eye area. Next, for blemish spot treatment, this is also from the Morphe 690 set. It comes with 3 large brushes and 3 miniature brushes of the same type. Like for this brush, the miniature is this brush. I like to use the pointed one for spot treatment because it's just very densely packed and very direct to where I want it to go, instead of a fluffier bristled brush, which would kind of disperse the product around quite a bit and make it less opaque. Because if you want to cover a blemish, you're going to want your concealer to conceal everything and not get all, spread out all over the place. You want it to be very direct, and this is a pointy brush, so that's why I like using it for those spot treatment areas. Next, for setting my under eyes, I use the Morphe M554. It's a flat paddle-like brush. I use this on my left side in the demonstration. I like this because it's a nice surface area. It covers a nice surface area, I should say. So that's why I like using it under the eye instead of using a very small brush. I like this one because it goes over the area fairly quickly. For the other side, I use the Morphe M438. This one is a pointed brush. It is a little bit smaller than the other one as far as the surface area that it would cover on the face. It is a bit smaller, but I do like this brush for going right under the eye and, you know, getting right into this little small area here. Next, for powder, I like to use my Sephora Pro Flawless Light Powder Brush. This is in 50. I really like this brush because it's synthetic fibers and it's very soft, and it just really nicely gets the powder on my face. I don't really know what else to expect from a powder brush. I just prefer it to be very soft and fluffy. That's why I picked this over some of my other face powder brushes. The other ones were natural fibers, and it just isn't as soft on my skin. Next, for contour, I use the Morphe MB30. I really like this brush because it is so precise. It's just very densely packed bristles that just go right into the hollows of the cheeks. And I like to use this to contour my nose as well because it's such a thin brush and very easy to, and it's a straight, long brush in that the bristles are, I'm trying to explain this correctly, they're flat, so it makes it easier to just go over the nose area very quickly and not, you know, mess up and accidentally have a zigzaggy nose. If that ever happens to you, that happens to me sometimes if I use a regular, like say eyeshadow brush, I tend to mess up. So I really like using these flat brushes like this. For bronzer, I like to use the M402, sorry, the Morphe M402. I like this one because it's so big of a brush. It's also angled. I just like this for, you know, going into the hollows. It's just a nice angled brush. It's very fluffy. It disperses the product well, and it's natural fibers, so it doesn't, I guess the word I'm looking for is stick to certain parts of the face and not blend out very well. So I really like this brush for bronzing. For blush, I like to use this BH Cosmetics brush. This brush is so old. I'm trying to look for a brush that I like just as much as this, that's maybe newer, but there's no name on it or anything. I know it came in a smaller collection of brushes. I don't know, I just like the shape of it. It's like flat and then like skinny on the sides. It just fits so perfectly, and it's really soft. And I'm trying to look for another brush like this, but I mean, this brush isn't broken. This brush, there's nothing wrong with this brush, so as long as I can use this brush, I will be using it. But as a replacement option, maybe in the future, if this brush doesn't work for me anymore, I'm trying to find another brush that's very similar to this. So I'm on the lookout for that. Next, and I think the last face product brush is the Morphe M601. It is a fan brush that I use for highlighting, as I said. I really like this brush. It is a natural fiber brush. I like it because it's kind of fat, as you can tell right here. I mean, it is thin obviously, but it's kind of fluffy. And I like that for getting in there, and it just, I don't know, it just makes it look so good. Although this is the only fan brush and the first fan brush I've used, I just feel like it's the first one I used, it works great, so I love it, period. For my right side, I use the Morphe M509. This brush, people really like this brush for, I think, setting under the eyes and stuff, as well as highlight. I like this brush as well because it is a a natural fiber brush. This one, I have to say, packs the highlight on a lot more opaque and just bam, wham, bam in your face. Whereas the other side is a lot more natural. I mean, of course, with the fan brush you can build upon it, but for this brush, it definitely adds a like bam aspect the first time you apply it. Next, for the eyebrows, I use the Anastasia Beverly Hills eyebrow spoolie slash brush. It's not focusing, but I use this one. It's in the number 12. I think the 12 is the smaller angled brush end, but I really like it because it makes such a precise line, and it's very, very thin. The brush didn't fluff out. It's just like extremely precise. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the eyes. Ooh. Excuse me. So we're going to move on to the eyes. To start off, I like to always add a transition shade. Well, I'd say most of the time I like to add a transition shade so that everything just blends really nicely and smoothly. I have the Morphe M554. I really like this brush for transition colors. It's very fluffy, and it's also natural hair, which makes it very, I'd say not as soft. It's like goat bristles, I think. I'm just assuming. I don't remember what it said on there, what it's made out of. But, you know, this is what I assume a goat feels like. Kind of rough, but still not rough enough to hurt you. I really like this brush because it stays stiff while you're applying your transition shade. Also, this Morphe M505 I like. This one is a little bit fluffier and smoother. Smooth meaning not as rough. So it just depends on how I'm feeling. If I want something a lot more fluffier and softer, I go with the M505, but for the most part, I really love the M511. Next, I have this brush that I got from Coastal Scents. It came in this really big set of brushes, so there's no name for this one. This is a very small little brush, flat brush that I like to use right under in my eye area. I like to put that transition shade in there with this brush. Most people I've noticed like to use a big fluffy brush for that job, but for me, I personally like using something that isn't fluffy, because the fluffy brushes tend to like fluff all of the powder right into my eyeballs, and that doesn't feel too good. So I like to use a brush that's more precise, that will get the shadow exactly where I want it and won't move around too much more after that. Next, I really love brushes like these. These are like concealer brushes. They're flat, they're very smooth, and they pick up a lot of powder, as you can see by that. I don't know if you can see, maybe, but it picks up a lot of powder, and it's really nice for just packing color right on to anywhere that you want it. I use the Morphe E10. I like this one because it's really big and fat. If I wanted to do something a little bit smaller, I would use this one, which is also from the Coastal Scents. It's just, you know, if you want a brush like this, any kind of brush like this will do, and they're normally just called concealer brushes. Another favorite brush of mine is the Morphe E58. Looks like this. It's a synthetic fiber brush. It's really good at packing color in as well as blending it out. That's really why I like it. For a brush like this that is just purely, you know, like a blendy blush, you couldn't add color and do this at the same time. But this brush just adds so much color. And I'd also have to say that other brushes, honorable mention brushes that do that, the E23, the E17, and then this one, the E28, they're all like similar kinds of brushes, and it's not focusing on the brushes. Okay, there we go. They're all similar types of brushes. So they're really, really great for adding color as well as blending out. So that's why I really like these synthetic brushes. Next, a brush that I really like to use that's very fluffy. You could use it for a transition shade, but because of how fluffy it is, I really like to use the Morphe M554 brush. I like to use this brush for blending out colors. It's really nice for blending out colors without any shadow on it. Next, I like the Morphe M506. It's a very small, very precise little blending brush, and I really like it because here I use it under my eyes and I used it in a more precise area for blending, and it's really nice for like if you want to do a little wing with your eyeshadow, wing it out instead of having a rounded eye look. I really, really like using this brush for that because it makes it very precise and not all fluffed out. Next, I have this flat brush. I really don't know what kind of brush this is. It could be like a eyeshadow liner brush, but this is from Coastal Scents. I always use this brush under my eyes. I use it synonymously with the other Coastal Scents brush. I use them in the same way, except this one I use for colors, whereas the other one I use for transition shades. So I use this to pack a lot of color on my under or my bottom lash lines. This Coastal Scents brush, I really like to use it. It's such a tiny, precise little brush. It's a natural fiber bristle. Why do I keep saying fiber? It is fiber, I guess, but not natural bristle brush. Wow, I got that right at the very end of the video. That's helpful. But I like to use this for an inner corner highlight. It's really beautiful. I can also use this on the bottom. Anything that needs a lot of precision, I use this brush. Next, for eyeliner application, if it's not, you know, in a tube eyeliner, it's a potted eyeliner. I really like to use the Morphe G21. I like this one because of how sleek it looks. Also, it's a very, very thin and precise line that it makes, because look at that. The bristles don't go wayward and all over the place. They're just perfectly in line, and it makes such a nice wing. So that was it, you guys. That was all of my favorite brushes and how I use them. I hope you enjoyed and found it to be informational. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.